Our fantasy football expert is Andy McNamara. He joins us on the video chat right now. Andy, how are you, my man?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. Look, where do you sit on the auto draft? It was a question that came up a little while ago. I don't think it's the big swear word that everybody makes it out to be. I mean, it's not great to auto draft, but you're not ruined if you do, are you?
Well, I'll tell you, you don't win one of these by doing auto draft, baby. Let me tell you. I had to show the this is my most recent championship ring, ESPN League last year.
That's pretty good.
I had to show that off. It looked good. We're ready to roll for the season. Here's the thing. Auto draft, if you put it on auto draft, it could work out fine for you, but it takes away the gamesmanship of the league. One, you usually are doing a countdown and you make everybody wait. That's getting obnoxious. If it's a 5-minute thing,
2 minutes of pick.
and you're hated by the end. Two, you might end up those rankings don't take into account, is the guy injured? Is he going to miss week 1? Let's say Hollywood Brown, I just read, for Kansas City, he's not playing Thursday. Well, that could keep him out 1-2 weeks, but that's not going to be taken into account. So now you could get injured guys. Maybe, how is your auto draft setup? Are you going to end up with 12 wide receivers and 1 running back? I don't know. Like it can be weird. I say, if you're going to be in a league, take the time to be there. I hate auto draft personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. One time I did have to auto draft, and I believe you win in the wire, you win in some of those late round picks, but also did the work though to set up kind of my priority waiver, and
there you go.
It worked out okay. You're gonna be safe.
Yeah, like if you put in like, let's say sometimes there's conflicts. Let's say you have to work, okay, or something, whatever. If you put in the time and you rank out your own guys in order, I can appreciate that more. And you let your league mates say, hey guys, I'm working, I can't make it. What can you do? But you have it lined up. That's better than having just let the computer do it. Cause then that's just sloppy. Why bother?
Yeah. I draft tomorrow. So forgive me if I take notes during this conversation. But what are your thoughts going into fantasy football like this season? Where do you, I guess let's start with running backs versus receivers. Where do you weigh the two position groups in fantasy football right now?
Well, first of all, you have to make sure whatever league you're in, you really grasp what the layout is, the point structure and all that. Is it a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver
league we're working on right now, half a point PPR, pretty standard roster setup, no individual defensive players, 12-team league.
Is it 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs?
I believe it's 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex, 1 quarterback.
And a flex, and 1 quarter. Okay.
And a tight end.
So that puts running back a little bit higher. If you have 3 wide receivers set, which some people are, or you're adding in an extra flex, a lot of people are doing that to add because of the pass-heavy league. So in your case, I would say I'd still, unless you get one of the premier running backs, and there are very few of them right now, the true bell cow for fantasy, lean wide receiver first. Do you know what draft position you're in yet? Like what order? No? Okay. So really, if we're looking here, if you're number 1, you're taking Christian McCaffrey. Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson are the only other 2 running backs I would take in the first round. So depending where you're going, if one of those 3 are available, take them. Those are really the true bell cow guys. Outside of that, then you start really wanting to hit on those wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. I feel so bad for Justin Jefferson. He's got Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. And if it's not him, it's going to be Nick Mullins. What a waste. What a waste. I'm so upset. It's terrible. Then you go Amon St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown type of area. So there's a lot. I'd say you can get a lot out of your wide receivers a little bit later. Let's say your WR3, 3rd or 4th wide receivers. Then you're able to running backs.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson's interesting. Minnesota's interesting. Despite the quarterback play, he's still going to get his targets and he's still going to put up some numbers, but it hurts him. It really hurts Jalen Addison and the other guys in that offense that I'm probably staying away from. A running back I wanted your thoughts on is Derrick Henry. Starting to age up, but he's in a new offense. He's in Baltimore. How do you value Derrick Henry in fantasy?
I think this is how it's going to play out. I think Derrick Henry's going to get a bunch of touchdowns, but I don't think the yardage is going to be there, simply because still your best running back is your quarterback in Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's still Lamar Jackson, right? They've cycled through how many different combinations of running backs. Now, have any been at the caliber or name recognition level of Derrick Henry? No, but we know Derrick Henry has a lot of tread on the tires. So I see Derrick Henry being used, not necessarily sparingly, but strategically early in the season, because Baltimore, we know they need to try to make some advances in the playoffs. Right now, the strategy is still stop Lamar Jackson, make him throw the football, and you beat him. Well, if you can keep Derrick Henry fresh and you got that bulldozer come the playoffs, now we're talking. Unfortunately, that doesn't do us too much good for fantasy football. So I have Derrick Henry in that level down. Personally, I'm putting, unless he drops to like the 4th round or something, I'm going to put Derrick Henry on my first 2 rounds do not draft list, because I don't think he's going to get the volume for fantasy that we need.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what Derrick Henry looks like in Baltimore. How about his former team in the Tennessee Titans? There's a lot of intrigue around Brian Callahan in this offense with DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd. And then you got Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears in the backfield. How do you value the offense, and where do you kind of rank some of those players?
So here's what's interesting. So Brian Callahan, new head coach, like you said, his dad, Bill Callahan, was the Browns offensive line coach. He was a former head coach. He is the pinnacle of offensive line and running game strategy that you can get in the National Football League. He helped Kevin Stefanski design that in Cleveland. He's been in Cleveland the last bunch of years. So what I look at immediately to that is, all right, Tony Pollard, I don't think he's being drafted high enough. I think Tony Pollard is going to have a great year. Callahan can take guys off the scrap heap, and he did it with Cleveland the last 2 years. Guys you never heard of, all of a sudden they're stepping in, starting left tackle, and they're still running the ball well. Like, what the heck's going on? So Tony Pollard, I think, is going to be great. You got Calvin
Reminds
Ridley
me of DeMarco Murray coming to Tennessee.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good comparison. Yeah, like Tony Pollard, I think, because we still have in our mind, and fantasy football is funny. It's a lot of name recognition if people aren't paying too close attention. So you kind of think of Tony Pollard as Ezekiel Elliott's backup, right? But I think the talent is still going to be there with this offensive line and this run design by Bill Callahan. Not enough people are talking about, not Brian, Bill Callahan. So you take that, you got Will Levis. That's going to help take a little bit of pressure off if you can get that run game working. Calvin Ridley got paid a lot. I'm loving me some Calvin Ridley. I'm going to stay away from DeAndre Hopkins because of age. And Tyler Boyd, I think, is going to get a little bit lost in the shuffle. So if we're talking Titans, give me some Tony Pollard and give me some Calvin Ridley.
To the New York Jets, another team that people are talking about, and some of their weapons in Garrett Wilson and this offense, which I'm hearing about. It feels like a bit of a dysfunctional family at times, but there's weapons there. They're going to run the ball well. What do you expect out of the Jets, and how much fantasy stock are you putting in them?
Boy, doesn't it feel like for the Jets and the Cowboys, like if both don't perform this year, it's blow up time. Like it's gonzo. Yeah. It's going to be blown up. So for the Jets, they put everything in Aaron Rodgers, everything. And yeah, there's reports he's prima donna, not getting what's true, what's not. Is it somewhere in between? I don't know. But what the Jets and that regime, top to bottom, realize is if this doesn't work, it's over. So they're putting everything in this. It has to work or you're done. If he gets injured, it's Tyrod Taylor. And guess what Tyrod Taylor does? He gets hurt too. Then you're really in trouble. So I think fantasy-wise, we look at it, Breece Hall is a beast. Look what Breece Hall was able to do last year with atrocious quarterback play. If Aaron Rodgers can be 85% of what he was, phenomenal. Breece Hall, check. Garrett Wilson, stud. People talking, Mike Williams is healthy. Mike Williams with the chart, formerly with the chart, he can't stay healthy. I'm not interested in Mike Williams. I want me some Breece Hall. That's a first, like, if I can't get Christian McCaffrey, to me, it's in between. It's a 2A and 2B between Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson, who I want on my fantasy team. And then Garrett Wilson after that. Again, a guy who with bad quarterback play can make things happen. So Hall, Wilson, and you know what? If you want to go Aaron Rodgers on your fantasy team, I don't hate it, but you better make sure you are swinging back and getting a reliable backup. Someone I look at like a Geno Smith, someone who's going to get you Baker Mayfield. Mid to high teen fantasy points, not going to get you the 30 30 points, but they're going to be consistent. So if you go for an injury-prone guy or a potential or old like Aaron Rodgers or an Anthony Richardson, you better make sure you're getting a quality backup.
I'll jump in here and take a question from Jeff Cabillas. He wants to know your thoughts on Saquon Barkley, especially now that he's with the Eagles.
Yeah, I love the situation for Saquon. It's an ideal situation. You're finally out of a dysfunctional organization, the disaster that are the New York Giants. You talk about lack of fantasy options there. I feel terrible for Malik Neighbors, good Lord. But you look at Saquon, and it kind of feels like we're heading into the 2021 fantasy football draft because we're talking about Christian McCaffrey being the top pick and Saquon Barkley with a lot of upside. But we know there's a lot of miles, and his injuries have been much more severe. So I like Saquon. He has Kenneth Gainwell behind him as a change of pace. So when they're running the ball, it's going to be him. Jalen Hurts is also mobile, and we've seen him call his own number from the goal line before. So I think for Saquon, to me, he falls into a high end of that next tier of running back. So not the CMC, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. I'd probably take Jonathan Taylor above him. And then I would get into the Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Etienne range. I think there is a ton of upside for Barkley, but that injury pass spooks me. And there's also a lot of mouths to feed, too, when you got Devonta Smith, you got A.J. Brown, you got Dallas Goedert.
We're watching Hard Knocks, so I got to ask you about Chicago. Caleb Williams fantasy stock, but those receivers, right? When you look at Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, but why am I blanking on his name? Number 2.
DJ Moore?
DJ Moore, thank you very much. And I think he's probably the best of the bunch in terms of fantasy output, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on Caleb first and those 3 receivers?
Boy, going rookie QB, at least at the start of the year, and boy, CJ Stroud proved everybody wrong last year. What a year he has. And side note, I want myself some CJ Stroud this year in fantasy for sure. Now you look at Caleb Williams and all the talent in the world, but there are some questions. You know, he's fumbled. He's had where he runs away, not scrambled, but runs backwards and gets sacked. How is he going to handle the mental strain, the pressure? I have my questions, but we know the talent is there. The other issue with rookie quarterbacks that we see all the time is sometimes their favorite target, at least in year 1 or partway through, can be a little strange. Who do they have a connection to? For example, Baker Mayfield in 2018, his top target was Rashard Hollywood Higgins, who was a 5th-round pick, because that was who he had the connection with for whatever reason, right? Usually we see it from a veteran. So is Odunze going to be his guy? Is DJ Moore? Is an aging, banged-up Keenan Allen? That's going to be interesting. I personally am putting the Chicago wide receivers in my WR2 range just because of that uncertainty. I'd have DJ Moore 1, Odunze after that, Keenan Allen following that, Cole Kmet. Depends in college. You know, is he going to be comfortable going to the tight end? Kmet's got a lot of talent, but there's a lot of unknowns. So the Bears are an exciting team. They're interesting, but for fantasy purposes, I'm treading a little more cautiously. I don't want to rely on any of those guys as my top option, but as a secondary, I think that could be pretty good.
Okay, only a minute or 2 left, but the last thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm kind of struggling with this, is what do I value in Arizona with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I love Marvin Harrison Jr. That was my combine crush, man crush, whatever you want to call it. Coming. Look, Marvin Harrison Jr. could have gone pro 2 years ago. He's that good. He is beyond ready, and anyone who puts any knock on him is just trying to pick holes. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute stud. And look at the other options. Fantasy football, opportunity equals success. Who's going to get the opportunity outside of Marvin Harrison Jr.? Michael Wilson? Just a guy. Greg Dortch? Just a guy. Tight ends, we got Trey McBride. Now, I like McBride. I want McBride. I like him. But it's got to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, we got to hope Kyler Murray stays healthy because behind him is Clayton Tune. And I'll tell you, I saw him versus the Browns last year, and he got tuned up by Myles Garrett. So if Murray gets hurt, all bets are off. Marvin Harrison Jr., when we're talking rookie wide receivers, has got to be the first guy off the board for you.
Awesome. I am set to go, Andy. I appreciate it, man, and enjoy the season.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Andy McNamara, that was great. We went through a lot in a short amount of time, and I got some great notes there.